Redditors who grew up filthy rich. What did you think was normal till you learned otherwise? I didn't know there were so many rich people on Reddit. I always assumed everyone was a college graduate that sleeps in a refrigerator box with a blanket made of credit card bills. At least 50% of Redditors are still in college uni by my guess. I recently learned that I am too poor to get a credit card. Probably a weird example, but growing up all of our dishes were made of fine china, Waterford glassware etc. And I just thought that's what plates and stuff were made of because we didn't have anything else. Then one time I went to a friend's house for dinner and we ate on colored plastic plates and non-matching plastic cups. I just thought that was the weirdest thing ever and asked why we were eating with camping dishes. Why we were eating with camping dishes. LOL damn. Were they really insulted? Similar thing happened to me, but my rich friend asked why we were eating on frisbees. I myself am not rich, but I have an uncle who is very well off. So one of my not rich aunts was complaining about her car acting up on her. Well, my cousin from the rich family was listening and got really confused. So he just asked her, well, why don't you just get rid of it and go buy another one? This kid was probably 13 or so at the time and had no concept of not enough money. He couldn't understand why you wouldn't just go get a new something if your old something didn't work. I thought everyone got to eat dinner quite often with the president. I always thought the president has dinner at random houses until I learned otherwise when I finally joined regular school. I was homeschooled till I was age 9, and no kid believed my dinner story. Dad was ambassador of Kenya to Saudi Arabia. This is just great. How was your weekend? Nothing special. We had the president over for dinner again. I wish he hadn't finished all our ice cream though. Do you remember which president? Double quote. Kidnapping. Whenever we traveled there were guards. I was trained in what to do if it happened. We had insurance policies against it. When I dated a middle-class suburbanite and talked about it, she thought I was paranoid, but that was a thing. Yikes. I remember my whole family watching a news special on safety and what to do if someone tried to abduct you from the school playground, but that's a little different. I remember my parents having a sit-down talk with me after a parent-teacher meeting and letting me know that there was one student in our class that was feeling insecure because his family was the only one that didn't have a lake cottage or mountain home. Ah yes, the best way to help a child get over his insecurities. Tell the rest of the children in his class about them. My parents paid in full for my $60,000 of college tuition. I was always grateful for that, but it wasn't until the post-grad reality of my friends working to pay off their student loan debt while I was able to directly pursue my professional goals that I truly realized the advantage that I had from my parents' wealth. I had always known we were well off, but it wasn't until after college that I truly appreciated that, I guess. I hope I can pay them back for that someday. Pay them back by being successful in what you choose as your profession. When I pay for classes for my daughter, I'm not expecting to get paid back. I'm making a contribution to her future. The payoff would be if she does really good in whatever it is that she's doing. Having a helper in your house doing everything housework related. Yeah, but she's practically family now for you guys, right? Ours is at least. Like, she raised me and my siblings and we love her to death. Her son was my childhood best friend. My mom used to take us to the mall and drop $500 in a day without thinking about it. Budgeting in general was a foreign concept until I racked up credit card debt that I couldn't pay off immediately. Budgeting and finances should be taught in high school. I spent my late teens and early 20s butlering for a very wealthy, not billionaires but not far off, family. They had 2 school-age kids that I would drop off in the morning. The older, 7 maybe 8 the time of the 2 was amazed to learn that I didn't have a holiday home to go to when I took time off. I'm curious. How did you get into butlering? How was it? Would you have one hypothetically? Nice. Please smash the subscribe button to enjoy daily AskReddit content. Growing up I thought apartment buildings were only for college students. I didn't know families lived in them. Edit. My family was not filthy rich. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, not out in the country. My friend in high school was filthy rich, and he would always wear suit jackets and fedoras. One day he said I wanted to wear my other purple suit, but the jacket was at my third house. It was some Gatsby level extravagance. Your friend was a solid argument that money can't buy good taste. In third house. Going on ski holiday every year. Living in Germany, where the Alps are just a 2 hours drive away, but still flying to Western Canada for skiing at Whistler Mountain. But I like this snow. I went up to Whistler a few years ago and was blown away by how many Europeans and Australians were there. I expected more Canadians. And why would Europeans come all the way to North America when they have great mountains right there? I was trying to show a friend of mine that she's rich because her family has a team of maids and drivers. Seriously, a driver for every member of the family. She said she's not rich because everyone has maids and drivers. I asked her, do you think your maids and drivers have maids and drivers? I think then it clicked that she might be rich. Yo dog. I'm so rich even my maids have maids. How old was she when this discussion took place? John Travolta told a cute story about his daughter once. They had to fly commercial once and she was shocked, incredulous, and asked, Daddy, who are all these people on our plane? She thought everyone had their own 757 inches. I can see why you'd make this mistake when your dad's house looks like a ducking airport. http://cdn Architecture Anderson. NetWP content uploads /2015/09/ at John Travolta's house is a functional airport with runway 01 inches. JPG. Oddly enough, the private housing place that my great uncle used to live in had to refuse John Travolta because his private plane was too big for the community runway and hangars attached to each house. Edit. RIP my inbox. Also, hi everyone from Port Orange Spruce Creek fly-in. I thought until the start of high school that a $100 bottle of wine was cheap. Expensive ones rise several thousands after all. At the end of the year we decided to offer our retiring teacher a bottle of wine and he said, don't buy a $100 bottle. I made a joke about how picky he was and made a fool of myself. Edit. Sorry about the $sign. I live in France and there we put the euro sign after the number. Maybe he was also filthy rich and didn't want a bunch of peasants buying him a $100 bottle of wine. Our retiring teacher, oh, never mind. My 8-year-old came home from school last year and told me that not everyone had a tennis court. In fact, he said, nobody but he had a tennis court in his class. He was amazed that other kids played in the street instead of their own tennis court. The tennis court is old and crappy, but it makes a great play area, paved, and with a 10-foot fence around it. I have many kids who have many friends. It's nice to have a pen to keep them in during parties. I think the term you're looking for is prison yard, not tennis court. Where do you live that people play tennis in the street? This girl I knew was rejected from a law school because her diversity statement was written about her struggle of riding commercial to Europe for the first time. Regardless if that was real, that has had me laughing harder than anything I've read on Reddit before. When I found out my dad paid off a multi-million-dollar mortgage in less than 5 years, that's when I knew one was not like the others. How old were you? Those words wouldn't have made much sense to me when I was 10, and I figured by then I'd realize I was rich. I grew up dirt poor and, when I met my husband, was dirt poor myself. He came for an upper middle class family where everyone got college paid and they always had new things. My husband has never been unemployed and doesn't understand how someone can be unemployed. I remind him all of the time that when he met me, I was unemployed. Yeah, but you just had some shocksty things happen to you. That's all. Yeah, honey, that's how it works. Why don't people just, like, get a small $1 million loan from their parents? Complaints about airport security. We never got around to owning a plane, but most of our family friends who we would vacation with would share theirs with us. Basically you show up at the local airport and hop right on. If we ever took a commercial jet, we had a prepaid TSA pre-check that let us zip through our own security line. I never understood why people would say they planned on heading to the airport 2 hours before their flight. We never got around to owning a plane, sorry, peasant. This thread is reserved for the filthy rich only. We never got around to owning a plane, so not really that rich, but most of our family friends who we would vacation with would share theirs with us. Never mind. Flip side, growing up in the projects, I thought that people that lived in trailer parks were rich because they had their own house, among many other odd beliefs. It's all relative, and really, smaller things make you happier the lower you grow accustomed to living. My mom never worked, instead she stayed at home and raised each one of her 4 sons in succession. So there was a point when I was shocked to learn that other kids' moms had jobs and didn't just play them, watch them, take them on excursions every day. Obligatory. We were never rich, but I feel like this qualifies. Also, mom got her masters and had to go back to work so that we could pay the mortgage and have health insurance once dad's business took a shocks at the beginning of the recession. The mom not working and staying home to raise kids is very common, especially if they're young children. My boyfriend's family was pretty poor compared to mine, so when we discuss our childhoods we notice some pretty glaring differences. For example, he was telling me recently about how they would leave the kitchen stove on and open in his house for the heat in winter. No central heating air, something I completely took for granted as a kid. That seems incredibly inefficient. I think people start with not filthy rich because everyone looks up and sees people with more money than them. Rich and poor will always be relative. So I can't help but start with saying that while my parents aren't filthy rich, it never occurred to me that it wasn't that normal to have a fully owned house without any mortgage. I thought renting was something only people in their 20s had to do. My parents aren't even middle class and we completely own a house. I thought doctors and lawyers lived in the poor part of town. You know, the guard-gated communities with golf courses in them. I don't think I realized they weren't poor until I got to college. Holy Navy. The only movies you watched had poor doctors and lawyers in them. Double quote. I wasn't the one who was filthy rich, but I went to a fancy private school from 9th grade to 12th grade on scholarship. There were tons of kids there who didn't know exactly how rich they were. I remember one girl complaining about how her parents were buying a third house in Florida but that it cost $1 million less than her main home, which was around $4-6 million. I have so many stories where the rich kids from my school didn't realize just how rich they were. It was pretty sad. Edit. Grammar edit. BC sleep deprived me as a dumb buck. I went to a fancy school too. My friend was beeped off because her parents divorced and her brother had to share an annex of the house. Own kitchen, bathroom, lounge, 2 bedrooms, rather than have separate ones like when they lived together. They were about 12. I have so many stories where the rich kids from my school didn't realize just how rich they were. If only there was a thread where you could post such stories. Only middle class, but I realized I was globally rich when in the Marines. Filipino folks were taking out trash to fix their roofs. Edit. Now I am internetally rich too. I remember going to India and giving about 10 rupees, roughly 10 pence or 15 cents, to a homeless woman. She was basically in tears. It's as if I saved her life or something. That was a big wake-up call. Okay, globally rich is my new favorite phrase. I was going to post something about how I have drinking water flowing out of a variety of taps in my house at a variety of temperatures to do whatever I please. I think it makes the same point. When my stepdad started college, he went out to dinner with his friends. When they got their bill and were getting ready to leave, he was really confused. He had never had a 1-course meal. He was under the impression the next 3 would be coming any moment. Being dropped off at school in a 67 Porsche Speedster. Edit. Spelling error. Similarly, playing around as a 9-year-old in my friend's dad's Ferrari F40 like it was a playhouse, when it wasn't in the shop, I bet. Discovering that other people's parents didn't have 100+ properties in their investment portfolio. We had quite a frugal lifestyle, so I just assumed that most middle class had a few investment properties and that's where all the money went. Me and my dad built a chicken coop. Does that count? till most rich people start their stories off with, not filthy rich, but all people that are almost any level of rich know people that are orders of magnitude richer than they are, so those people are the filthy rich ones to them, even if to you they are both filthy rich. My mom was really into fashion, so I used to get rid of old clothes pretty much every season and have new clothes almost constantly. I realized this wasn't normal around middle school and high school when people talked about having their clothes for years at a time. Old habits are hard to break, but I shop a lot less than she did. At least we gave the old clothes to Goodwill. When I was a poor student, I lived in an area where many people sent their one season old clothes to the charity shop. I used to trawl them multiple times a week for the designer stuff. I dress pretty well for 50p per t-shirt. I like my clothes. If someone tried to take them away and replace them every year, I'd fight them. Watching Sports Center reruns all morning in college and complaining I was bored. A poor kid finally schooled me on the fact everyone else had to work to put themselves through college and become indentured servants to pay off their student loans. Oh wow. Still not getting a job though. Serious question. What kinds of jobs or circumstances allow people to make millions of dollars per year besides some CS and some stock investors? All of those other answers, plus the most common one, rich parents. The best way to make money is to have money. The best way to have money is to be born with it. I don't know about normal, but I was 23 the first time I had to figure out how to use a washing machine. To this day I can remember how helpless I felt, staring at it like a dead fish. Had to call the family maid. Also, did not know what an onion actually looked like until my mid-20s. Not last but not least either, I was clueless to the fact that you could have a meal with less than 9 pieces of cutlery. If this gets any upvotes, we'll share more anecdotes of the sort like now we am ducking dash. We weren't insanely rich, but upper middle class. I never realized that other kids didn't get to travel as much as we did. By the time I graduated high school I had been to 10 countries and countless states. Now as an adult working 2 jobs to keep my head above water, I'm grateful for how lucky I really was. This wasn't me, but a filthy rich friend didn't know that filet mignon beef tacos was not the norm. Edit. I grew up in a foreign country where, by comparison, we were rich. Coming back to the US as a young kid I learned pretty quickly having house staff was not the norm. I stopped mentioning those things in conversations with other kids. We had a houseboy. I mean, what position is that even? Double quote. That's horrible meat for tacos. Braised short ribs would be so much better. As a child, thought the local country club, members only, was free for all. What's it like? What do people do there? We didn't join the local one as kids despite almost all our friends being members. Why they didn't allow Jews to join? When a goblin escorted me to my family vault, and it was filled with piles of gold galleons. Our unexpected Hogwarts. It's anti-Semitic to use the word goblin colon. Nice. Please smash the subscribe button to enjoy daily AskReddit content. Not my answer, but this is from a different thread last year. https://www.reddit.com AskReddit comments/2s9u0s What do insanely wealthy people buy that ordinary can't? He covers everything and really gives you a sense for what true, super wealthy life is like. Another marginally relevant post, but I just spent a few days digitizing old 8mm film reels my family members took from 1933 to 1939. It took me a while watching that to come to the realization that they were filming their kids during the Depression with a movie camera, filming their kids wearing nice clothes, and shoes even, while playing with their nice toys or riding shiny new bicycles. Then it dawned on me that this was a film about wealth inequality, not kids playing. If wealthy people didn't buy new clothes and bikes and stuff during the Depression, the workers who made those things and the merchants who sold them would have been even worse off. I feel like the worst thing would be for the wealthy to hoard their money during the Depression. I grew up pretty isolated, so I didn't realize that there were smart poor people who just weren't told they were smart every day of their lives. It never occurred to me that people could be smart and not praised for it. If they're smart, then why are they poor? Am I right up top, bro? My family used to be pretty rich when I was really young. Never had to look at prices when shopping. Not anymore though. Rich or up to their eyes in credit card debt? What happened? Everything is embroidered to a certain point. From zebras to toasters. Everything appears to be embroidered when you don't know any better. I can't think of any reason why, but the patterns in the air just really mess with your perception. See, when you're rich and have all this extra money, there isn't any reason to not get personalized everything. So everything else seems like it was embroidered by someone or something. Hold up. Did you just tell us you have had a personalized, embroidered zebra? Double quote. Do you mean monogrammed?